Good morning. This is TCR, TroyCommunityRadio.com. I'm Clint Myers on 107.1 WTJN for David Denoyer on TCTV. Time now for the Mayor's Report, and with us, wouldn't be the same without Mayor Michael Beamish.
Yeah, he's present, and it's so good to see you, Clint, and David, and all the listeners that are listening to this great radio station.
All right. Looking like spring is on its way. I drove into town. Usually when I come into town, it's dark in the morning. And I came in 41 and noticed all the beautiful trees budded out on State Route 41. It's just gorgeous coming into town.
It is. There are, flowers in bud, trees in bud. And I'll tell you, if you haven't gone down McCaig, stop at McCaig Race Park and just take a look at the Japanese cherries that are in full bloom in that park. It's a natural park setting, has a gazebo there, but it is just simply gorgeous to take a look at. And it just makes you know that spring has sprung.
Absolutely it has. It gives us something to look forward to with summer.
Well, it does. And speaking of that, there's two, we have the Japanese cherry that are in bloom now, but later, usually in June time, we have the Japanese lilac. And we've intermixed those trees at the McCaig Race Park. So it's worth taking another trip down McCaig later towards summer and see the next set of blooming trees.
Now, speaking of McCaig, are they going to be working on McCaig again this year?
I've scheduled for, I think, 2018.
Okay, so
they're doing all the infrastructure, consulting work, get a plan together. You will see a lot of the utility companies out doing work in preparation. But yes, we're continuing with the next phase of McCaig as it moves down the road. And those areas that have already been completed, I think most people are already finding them very smooth.
They're wonderful.
And the infrastructure is in place that should last us for a while.
Something else that tells us that summer's on the way, sculptures on the square. We'll see those here soon.
Soon. By the end of April, we should be starting to see our bicycles arriving around and through the area of downtown and through our recreational trail system and parks.
Las Bicicletas.
I'm going to let you say that because I just say we're getting a nice exhibit from Mexico, international exhibit, and they all will have a bicycle theme to them. And I want to thank the many, many, many sponsors that have chosen to participate in this event. We are a bicycle-friendly community, and I'm proud of that. We're going to talk a little bit about council and the Complete Streets program. I want to share a little bit about that. And bicycles play a role into that. But it's nice to have at the end of this month, and it will be there for the next few months, the bicycles will be on public display.
All right. And not just on the square downtown. They're going to be throughout on the bike path, Treasure Island, and all over.
Very fortunate. Normally we try to get 20 sculptures. It's my understanding that we may have up to 40.
Wow.
So, and we may cluster them to show like bike corrals and different ways of putting bicycles together.
Gotcha.
It will be spread out, and it will allow people to have a nice wellness walk and see the international bicycles.
We got a great lineup of entertainment that's going to be moving through town this summer, too. I know I've seen a few of the calendars. It's incredible that so many people partner together to bring that to us.
And you mentioned the key word, partners.
Yes.
We're not alone. City of Troy works very closely with our Main Street organization, our Hainer organization at the Hobart Arena, and all the activities. And many of those activities are just free for the public to come and enjoy, and it'll take place both in downtown as well as in our park system at our amphitheater at Treasure Island.
Now, I know Chapel Choir was just here last weekend.
Absolutely, and that was from the Mayor's Concert Committee, brought that in, and of course in August we'll have the Mayor's Concert. So, lots of activities.
Well, I'd like to see, I can't wait, but August is, it's close enough.
That's
we'll enjoy summer.
That's right. Let's enjoy that summer season.
Well, you also had council this week too.
We did. We had council, and we had a number of items being discussed, and I'd like to go over that if I could.
Certainly.
First of all, we had all members of council present, so we had all 9 members of council. That's good for our discussion. We did have a public hearing, and it was for a second agricultural district. Remember, we talked about it, every 5 years we have to look if somebody wants to maintain an area for agricultural. And this one, Evelyn Schaefer was the general partner, and she was there to present and be a part of the public hearing. Actually, there was nobody in opposition. What that means is that a subcommittee of council, law and ordinance, will be meeting on the 10th of April. I believe that's a Monday at 4:30, and they'll just discuss the application for an agricultural district, and they'll make a recommendation for the April 17th council meeting to full council.
Okay.
So that was started the meeting. We had a public hearing. Then one of our first resolutions, and this goes back to when we started talking about bicycles, we do have a complete streets policy being presented to council. It's been recommended by planning commission through the staff. And, anytime you talk about transportation, and that's what complete streets means, transportation in all forms. And there's where the bicycles come into play.
Gotcha.
We have to share the road. Most people think the streets is for cars, but not necessarily.
Not in today's age.
And not in this age. And you don't have to go too far. And many of the jurisdictions in our region are having a complete streets policy, which allows for all kinds of transportation on the streets. Bicycles have the right to share a road, and we need to realize that as a vehicle, we need to be cognizant of bicycles as well. In fact, there's new laws for bicycles that if you do pass, you have to give them a 3 feet clearance as you move around a bicycle. Now, bicyclists have responsibilities and rights as well, but responsibilities, they need to follow the rules of the road. So they should be using signals. They should make sure they're in areas where they know what's around them. Pedestrians in the streets, as they cross, we need to be cognizant of our pedestrians. But this whole complete street policy came out of the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission. And all the jurisdictions are being asked to have policies that really talk about transportation in general. And, transportation on the river, kayaks, canoes. We want to see that evolve as well and to be a way of getting from point A to point B. So the complete streets, and there are a lot of confusion about that, a lot of worries about safety. But if everybody does and knows the rules of the road and is cognizant, we should be able to share the road. But saying all that, council wants to do their due diligence. They've had a number of subcommittee meetings, and they presented that to full council. Full council has listened to other citizens who have concerns, especially high traffic areas, on safety. And that's a good thing. But we do need to realize that if we're in a vehicle, we need to be cognizant of what's around us. Whether it's a motorcycle, a bicycle, or another vehicle. Safety first. So council has moved that to a 4th reading. Not to go back to a subcommittee, but to just allow more understanding of a complete street policy, what it really is, what we're trying to intend to do. But I would say safety first, but also share the road. And those are 2 key ingredients with a complete streets policy. But it's been recommended by the regional center, and then also we have looked at it from a local perspective. And so it'll go to a 4th reading. When you go to 3 readings, a motion could be made at any time to approve, and then they vote on it, yay or nay. So it will move to a 4th reading. That was a lot of discussion.
Now, if it is approved, how quickly then would we see it implemented this summer?
Well, actually, looking at the streetscape policy that I'm looking at, we've had it in place. We just were revising the policy.
Okay.
You know, it's two things. Safety of all,
Right.
both vehicles, motorbikes, as well as bicycles and pedestrians. And then safety first, trying to make sure that we're all cognizant of what's around us. But we all share the road.
Well, without those policies in place, it would just be mayhem downtown.
And a policy can be changed. If we see something that needs to be tweaked,
Right.
the council can always go back and say, let's look at this piece and change it to fit our needs better.
Okay.
So it's fluid, but it'll go to a fourth reading, and council will then vote on the 17th meeting of council. The application for the agricultural district will show up on the agenda for the 17th. The public hearing, as I said, has already taken place, and the subcommittee will be meeting on Monday to discuss that agricultural district application. We did have a resolution of necessity related to phase 10 of the sidewalk improvement program that allows residents, if they need to repair their sidewalks, they can either go out and get their own contractor and do the work, or they can wait and the city will do it, and then they'll bill out over a period of time the cost of that sidewalk repair. And that's just another safety issue, trying to make sure people walking on sidewalks have a
remove the trip hazards.
absolutely.
And sometimes you get the tree roots or something have grown up underneath the sidewalk and pop it up a little bit, or split it.
And there again, council voted unanimously 9-0 to move forward with that project. Again, since that was a first reading, just a little statutory, they had to suspend the rules, because normally you look at 3 readings. But council has the prerogative with a supermajority to suspend the rules and then vote on that action as it is on the council agenda. And that's what happened, and that's why the 9-0 vote to move forward with that project. Now the biggest issue is, again, the twofold Part A, Part B of medical marijuana. And it was at a third reading. So I'll start with that. Third
Okay.
reading means all council would have to do would be to vote on one of the ordinances, and there was a 2-part ordinance. First ordinance was to prohibit cultivators and processors of medical marijuana in our community. And much discussion, much deliberation, back and forth discussion.
This has been a long discussion that has been going on.
And they thought, rather than to prolong it, let's divide it into half. Let's talk about the processors and the cultivators and decide on that. Council voted 9-0 to prohibit cultivators and processors of medical marijuana in our community. That went on, 9-0. That was a third reading, so in 90 days after my signature, then it will become effective.
Okay.
The second Part B, I call it, Part B of that was to take a look at retail dispensaries of medical marijuana. Planning Commission has sent to council one in a B4 district. Council, and there's been a lot of debate on that issue,
Yes.
lot of discussion, a lot of research has been done. The motion was made to amend that particular ordinance from 1 to 0. Now, I'll say and it was passed 8-1 to amend. Now, when you amend, then you have to take it to another council agenda. And so now what you will see, instead of 1, they'll have an ordinance that says 0 in the community. And council will need, because it was recommended by Planning Commission, will need to have a supermajority to pass that at the next meeting. So the amendment was made, moves forward to the next council meeting from 1 to 0, and then council will then vote on that, but it will take 7 votes of the 9 members present, or a supermajority, to pass that amendment to the medical marijuana issue. So that'll move on.
So to say, it'll keep our community out of the weeds.
That's very good, Clint. It's very clever. You're on fire today. The other one that passed without any discussion, 9-0, was the grant the pipeline easement of Vectron Energy Delivery regarding gas main for properties along the East Main Street, Walnut, Mulberry Street area of town. That's just the work they're doing with utilities, and council, needs that. We need to have an upgraded.
Well, that's just it. You've got to stay on top of the
That's
infrastructure,
right.
And a gas line is not something that you want to give out
Yep.
underground.
And so that passed 9-0. So we had some issues move forward. We had some issues will be on the April 17th council meeting agenda, and they just stay tuned. But I will say this about council: they discuss, they deliberate. Many people will see on a council meeting, it seems routine, but remember, subcommittees have met, discussed. Many council members attend those subcommittees, even if they're not on that committee. They're hearing the discussion.
Before these items even make it to council.
Correct. And if they do have questions, they call the administration, and we try to give them the right the information that they're requesting. And so when they come to council, they have done due diligence. And a lot of things I think people need to understand is these 9-member council, plus the president, plus the mayor, plus all the other elected officials, they live in this community. So decisions that are made affect every one of them, including those members that are elected.
Right.
So I always say that because, sometimes people think that those people are from a different planet or someplace different. But I always say...
Or someone's saying, well, it won't affect them.
Yeah, it won't affect them. And every decision that is made. And so they do their due diligence knowing that it's going to affect them as much as everybody else in the community. And I think that should be something well said, and the community should respect those people that are willing to give of their time and their talents and their due diligence to make those decisions that move our community forward.
Absolutely.
And so that's what we're going to be moving forward, and that's the April 17th agenda.
Okay. Now, is that all you had on council?
I think that pretty much takes it. We had a lot of people come up and share comments, and mostly it was around the Complete Streets project, the medical marijuana issues. There were some about infrastructure, but we're given answers. That's what council's all about, and that's why we have public meetings.
All right, Mayor, thank you so much. Now, you won't be here next week.
No, I will not.
You'll have someone else filling in for you.
Oh, we're going to have a good program, and it won't involve me, but Jerry Mullins, our street foreman, will be here. And as many people around the community have or have seen, the new carts are coming out with the Troy, Ohio, USA logo.
65-gallon totes.
Absolutely, the same as our recycling
Yes.
carts that we have. So we will now have, and I like it because it has big roller wheels, so it makes it easy to move in and out of. But saying that, Jerry's going to be here to talk about the whole idea of recycling, why we do, and the whole new concept for trash pickup and how we're going to do that. I do want to say this is all, the carts are coming out. They're
being delivered now.
Being delivered for a May 1st start. But many people are putting their bags of trash in them and rolling them out, and that's okay. We'll pick up the bags of trash. I would say, and Jerry, I'm sure will discuss this, what's the best way to do this. But if you're putting in a trash can now your bags of, say, kitchen trash, now you can put it in the cart, and even though the carts are not going to be utilized officially until May 1st. As long as you bag that, they'll just reach in and pick it as
They
they
can
would
pull it
for
out,
any
because that's a
other
big
trash.
can for the
That's
guys
right.
to be able to pick up if
That's
it's
right.
loaded full.
So Jerry Mullins will be here to discuss in detail recycling, trash pickup, when, how, and why. And I think that will be a good, very good program. And I would hope, again, that'll be aired on Troy Community Radio. And I hope people will tune into that program. And maybe you could offer it that part again before May 1st. But until that time, trash pickup as usual.
All right.
So 5 bag limits. And
Now, will it still
hold it?
when it comes time that the cans go out? Now it's just the can and the recycling can is what they'll be picking up.
You have
Two
two carts.
bins.
You have 2 carts. One for recycling that's already been in place, and this is a cost-effective, more efficient way of dealing with trash and recycling. We know recycling has worked when they come around and they just take that and they dump it into their truck and off they go. Well, the trash pickup will be on the same principle. We'll have our trucks retrofitted so that they can pick up the carts.
It'll have an automated arm that
Right.
grabs the cart
Right.
and can do the dumping.
And we're really believing that those 65 gallon refuse carts will accommodate, as in just like the 5 bag limit. You might even get more bags in there.
Well, considering that most people use a 30-gallon trash can,
Right.
and you got a couple that you drag out to the end of the driveway every week. Well, this is 65-gallon
Right.
with a lid that won't blow off or blow away, and the same with the recycling cart. And with that, if you're really sorting out your refuge, you've got plenty of room, because half of what you're throwing out is going to be recycled.
Boy, Clint, I tell you, you and Jerry are going to have fun next week because you are on the same page, and that's the whole idea. We'll talk about, and he'll probably also touch base on other refuse like the lawn bags that you can purchase. And he may talk about how stick removal and bundling. I mean,
Dye
I
mill
think
road
he's gonna-
facility.
Yeah, the dye mill. And if not, I know Clint, knowing you, you'll
I'll
bring
it
that up.
Yes, I will.
But Jerry Mullins will be here, and the focus of that whole program will be talking and discussing in detail our trash and recycling processes.
All right, Mayor. Thank you so much for being here.
It's been a
this morning.
great time. Thank you very much.
We'll enjoy Jerry next week, but we'll look forward to you coming back the week after
And that program, as I understand it, that we will do next week will be aired on April 15th, Saturday morning, correct?
Yes.
Around 9:15. So I really hope everybody will tune in. The one thing I will also think that Jerry will touch on is if you have a special need or a doctor's concern of even rolling out those carts, Jerry has always been very receptive to trying to understand needs, especially special needs of people, and I'm sure he'll touch on that as well.
All right.
It should be a great program.
Thank you so much, Mayor. This has been the Mayor's Report. I'm Clint Myers on 107.1 WTJN for David Denoyer on TCTV.